everyone, and welcome again to my channel. Today I will be doing something very different. Today I will be interviewing one of my sixth formers on life, and of course Rita Dove's poem and presentation and analysis of that poem. And she did such a fantastic job. I had to share it with the wider public, and of course, so that students who need to access information about Rita Dove's poem may be able to do so. I trust that you'll find our interview engaging and also that you'll find our presentation beneficial. God bless you. All right. So, good evening, everyone. I'm here with one of my sixth form student, Minia Clarke, and she is currently doing the subject literatures in English. And of course, Minia did such a fantastic presentation that we'd like to share it with you. So, Minia, would you like to provide us with an introduction? Who are you? What are you all about?
Okay, my name is Minia Clarke, and I am a grade 12 student at Meadowbrook High. I am very fond of learning new things and being a part of initiatives that seek to improve the lives of others. This is why I took the opportunity to extend some knowledge based on my experiences to students or anyone interested in high school or the works of literature in particular.
Okay, thank you, Minia, for that introduction. If we were to say, give us 5 words to describe yourself, what 5 words would you use to describe yourself?
Well, I am hardworking, very caring,
Mm-hmm.
independent,
Yes.
um, lovable,
Lovable. Yes. And what else? That's 4.
intelligent.
And intelligent. Okay. Nice. Very good, Minia. What are some of the things you enjoy about being in sixth form? What are some of the things that you really like about being a sixth form student?
I enjoy being a role model for students at the lower level. It gives me a chance to show or set the required examples that are necessary at the high school level. I also love the fact that I got to study the subjects that I love on a deeper scale. Um,
And what are
so-
these subjects? What are these subjects?
Subjects such as sociology, um, literatures in English, and law.
Oh, so what career field do you plan to go into?
I plan on being a family lawyer and real estate agent and interior and exterior designer.
Oh, so much. So, I guess time management is one of the things that you would have mastered.
Yes.
Okay. What are some of the challenges that you have encountered being a sixth form student?
Even before the pandemic, I've always suffered from depression. And in contrast to loving the subjects that
Mhm.
I study, it tends to be a bit much sometimes. We
Okay.
students are always pressured to do our best, and sometimes we try too hard and we end up failing instead. So, being in sixth form gives me the challenge of always having to doing my best academically and socially.
Okay, and what are some of the things that you do to overcome the feeling of depression when it of course overwhelm you or consume you?
I try to take a break
Mm-hmm.
from studying. If I have an assignment that I know it's too overwhelming, I'll
Mm-hmm.
try to either watch a movie or listen to some music, and then once I've cleared my mind, I will go back to it.
Okay, that's a good strategy. Very good strategies that you employ, and of course can be employed by other individuals as well. Taking a break, right? Don't becoming too overwhelmed, and of course, find things that are somewhat engaging, entertaining. That of course will take your mind off the depressive situation. All right. Thank you for sharing that. Okay. Would you encourage persons to go to sixth form? And if yes or no, why? Would you
I
encourage persons to?
Yes, miss. I definitely encourage students to go to sixth form. Initially, I didn't plan on attending sixth form, but I'm glad I chose to instead of going to college or university. College would be the second best option as it prepares you
Mhm.
for university, but going to sixth form definitely allows you to be more intimate with your teachers. For example, sixth form has less students than a college, and if you need assistance with a certain topic or assignment, it is much easier for your teacher to help you as there are less students. And in terms of the university, CAPE results are usually needed to attend, but there are some that will still accept you. University is a bit big, especially when compared to the high school you graduated from. So this might change due to pandemic, but the same would apply. University has lecturers, and most high school teachers allow students to participate in class. Sixth form prepares you for this and allows you to get additional subjects, which helps when applying for a job. 2 years might seem like a lot, but it is definitely worth it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that excellent response. Would you encourage, so you would encourage, therefore, persons to attend. Was it easy finding information on Rita Dove's poem?
I don't think Rita Dove's poems are that well known worldwide, which is why it was extremely difficult to find information on her poems. Searching Google and having to read multiple articles was a challenge, but in the end, we could place everything together very nicely.
Yes, you did. I must say, well done. A job well done. Did you find the twist up approach appropriate in mastering that aspect of the fact that her poems are not well known, where of course and information very difficult to find. Did you find that as using the twist up approach assisted you somewhat?
The twist-up approach was definitely useful as it helps you to categorize all the information in different
Mhm.
sections so it wouldn't be too overwhelming when explaining the poem.
Okay, very good. Excellent. What did you find fascinating about the research presentation that you did?
I love doing presentations, but only when I'm extremely prepared for it. When
Okay.
trying to find information on the poem Golden Oldie, have to
Mhm.
admit that I got discouraged. Imagine having a research assignment and not being able to find any information on it. But once I put together what I found and my own thoughts on the poem, it was truly remarkable. Not only is the poem really fascinating, but choosing the template, the transitions, and the pictures that are suitable for the poem and then organizing it, it was really, really fun to do. And I also love the
Yes,
fact that the background of the poet, it can truly influence the way they write and how they're still able to connect it to the real life story, or in this case, a myth.
excellent, excellent response, Minia. I must say that I was very impressed with your presentation. You seem to be very meticulous, and of course, it was so detail oriented, and of course, your spin on it, golden oldie. What would you consider to be the message to teenage girls in that poem, that Rita Dove's poem?
Well, golden oldie, it would first appear to be, it would mostly be related to old people or songs that are from the past. But when it is connected to Greek mythology, it can
Mm-hmm.
be that Persephone, Demetrius' daughter, she has strayed from her mother's arms and she has now entered adolescence and having to find love. And now all these adult decisions have now faced. She has faced decision, and now we as adolescents we will go through that. We will definitely go through that, and I think this poem definitely helps in acknowledging that fact.
Okay, that teenagers are sometimes in search for love, isn't that so, right? And
Yes, miss.
sometimes they find love in the wrong places, right? Or what encouragement would you leave with young people who are actually struggling or find school difficult or challenging? And what encouragement would you give to teenagers who are in search of love? That's a two,
I Oh, a two-parter. Okay, in
yes,
terms
two
of
question.
education, I would
Mhm.
definitely say to teenagers that just keep going. There will be times when you're at your lowest and you feel like you truly are a failure. And then there will be times when you're at your highest, knowing you finish all your assignments and you pass your tests. But regardless of the time you're in, know that this opportunity will define your future and you look back and appreciate the fact that you did not give up. In that moment, you realize that you are a fighter, and despite the challenges you faced, you kept going. It kind of sounds cheesy, but it is the truth.
Okay, excellent response again, Minia. What encouragement would you give to the teenagers who are in search of love, looking for love, seeking love?
Especially in this time and age, I think we have to be very careful in what we do, especially in the eyes.
Yes, Minia.
Have we have to find love, especially due to certain social issues such as peer pressure. But
Mm-hmm.
what we're about and what we want to accomplish in life, just be careful and once just do what you think is right.
Okay, there you have it. This young lady who is so talented, so, of course, intelligent, telling teenagers to hang in there, stay in there, right? Love yourself first, and of course, the right love will find you. God bless you, Minia. You did a superb job. Nice talking with you.
Thank you. Same to you.
Excellent, Minia. All the best to you in your future endeavors.
Thank you.
Keep blessed. All right.
Same to you, miss.
All right, darling. Okay, so Minia, you know what's gonna happen next. What's gonna happen next is that, all right, so we can stop recording. What is gonna happen next is that it's gonna be merged. So after your interview, right, then your slides will go as how you had presented them. Okay, I'll
Okay.
send you the recording before I upload. All right. You're
Okay,
such
miss.
a you're such a beautiful spirit, a beautiful character. I wish you all the best. Work on your time management with all of those careers that you have planned for your life. Just work on the time management and putting it all together. You are such a wonderful individual. God
Thank
bless you.
you, miss.
All right.
Have a great
Okay. You too. All right. So tomorrow now I'll interview Kiyomi, and Kiyomi is gonna do a different spin on it because she did a different poem. Okay. I'll send her the 7 questions as well. Nice talking to you, but yours will go first and then Kiyomi will go second. Okay.
Thank you, miss. It was a privilege.
Yes, it is indeed. I hope the right person see your thing out there and that they will contact you to say, yes, this girl really needs someone to really, shut it for her. Okay?
Yes, miss. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're free to leave. All right. That was That was me talking to Minia Clarke. Beautiful soul, beautiful spirit. I wish her nothing but the best in life. Really nice young lady. Okay, going to mark my eye now. So many things. Going to mark my eye in Jesus' name.
Good morning. My name is Minia Clarke, and today I am pleased to discuss a beautiful poem written by Rita Dove, Golden Oldie. Today we will look at an intro to the poet, the actual poem, an analysis of the poem line by line, an analysis of the poem using the twist-up approach, and an analysis of the poem in relation to Greek mythology. Various information about poetry will also be included in this presentation. At the end of this presentation, students should be able to describe and analyze the poem, state the techniques used, and describe the structure of the poem. Let's look at the poet. Rita Dove, in full Rita Frances Dove, was born on August 28, 1952, in Akron, Ohio, and she is the daughter of one of the first Black chemists in the tire industry. She is an American poet, writer, and teacher who was the first African American to serve as Poet Laureate of the United States from 1993 to 1995. Here is a quote by E.M. Forster. What is wonderful about great literature is that it transforms the man who reads it towards the condition of the man who wrote and brings to birth in us also the creative impulse. Before we begin, here is a fun fact about female poets. Did you know that a female poet is called a poetess, but most of them prefer to be called poets? This is mostly influenced by feminists and the need for equality. Being called a poet instead of a poetess made them feel like there was no separation for which gender is more dominating. Let us begin. Here is the poem Golden Oldie by Rita Dove. I made it home early, only to get stalled in the driveway, swaying at the wheel like a blind pianist caught in a tune, meant for more than two hands playing. The words were easy, crooned by a young girl dying to feel alive, to discover a pain majestic enough to live by. I turned the air conditioning off, leaned back to float on a film of sweat, and listened to her sentiment. Baby, where did our love go? A lament I greedily took in without a clue who my lover might be or where to start looking. Now let's analyze the poem line by line. The speaker of Golden Oldie is a young woman who has arrived home. I made it home early, but upon hearing a song on the radio that she enjoys, she gets stalled in the driveway swaying. She's still at the wheel and she's moving to the rhythm of the song while feeling stuck like a blind pianist caught in a tune meant for more than two hands playing. The speaker then describes the singer of the tune as a young girl dying to feel alive, to discover a pain majestic enough to live by. But in this description, the reader realizes that the speaker is describing herself instead of Diana Ross's lyrical persona. In the latter section of the sonnet, the song is revealed by the words, Baby, where did our love go? The speaker then reports that she turns off the air conditioning, no doubt to hear the song better. She leans back, and despite the film of sweat, she enjoys listening to the lament, which she greedily took in. Despite her identifying with this song, she finds some irony in the identification because she was without a clue who my lover might be or where to start looking. Now, an analysis of the poem using the twist-up approach. First up, we have title. The title of any literary piece is important because it represents the essence of the book. The title needs to be attractive in order to catch readers' attention. The meaning of any title is not obvious at first, and you must read to understand what their deeper meaning is. The title of the poem suggests that Golden Oldie would initially be interpreted as old people being great, or one that was a hit or favorite in the past. The poem, however, is about a young girl who has lost her love and is looking for a new lover. She realizes this after listening to Diana Ross's song, which is in itself a golden oldie. Another fun fact. Did you know that March 21st is World Poetry Day? This day is celebrated as an initiative by the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization, also known as UNESCO, for appreciation and support from poetry and poets from around the world. Let's keep going. Next up is words. These are any words and phrases that stood out to me while reading the poem. The words in the poem that stood out the most to me are stalled, swaying, crooned, float, sentiment, lament, greedily, blind pianist, pain majestic, and film of sweat. Now let's look at the meaning of these words. Stalled was used in line 2 and it means to stop or cause to stop making progress. This suggests that the persona was prevented from doing something because she got distracted. Swaying was used in line 2 and means to move or cause to move slowly or rhythmically backwards and forwards or from side to side. This suggests that the persona was enjoying the music. Crooned was used in line 5 and it means to hum or sing in a soft, low voice, especially in a sentimental manner. This suggests that the singer sang the lyrics of the song beautifully. Float was used in line 9 and it means to rest or move on or near the surface of a liquid without sinking. This suggests that the persona was hot and lying in her sweat. Sentiment was used in line 10 and it means a view or opinion that is held or expressed. This suggests that the singer was expressing tender emotion through her lyrics. Lament was used in line 11 and means a passionate expression of grief or sorrow. This suggests that the lyrics of the song was somewhat nostalgic. Greedily was used in line 12 and means in a way that shows an excessive desire for something. This suggests that the persona was very concentrated on the lyrics of the song. Blind pianist was used in line 3 and means a pianist that is helpless because of his lack of sight. This suggests that the persona was lost or indifferent, like a blind pianist. Pain majestic was used in line 7 and means a grand suffering. This suggests that the singer sang lyrics that expressed difficult situations. Lastly, film of sweat was used in line 9 and means to become or appear to become covered with a thin layer of sweat. This suggests that the persona was hot and lying in her sweat. Next is imagery. Imagery is part of the figurative language in a literary work, whereby the author uses vivid images to describe a phenomenon. These can be simile, metaphor, euphemism, etc. First up is simile. A simile is a figure of speech in which one thing is compared to another. This can be seen in line 3, swaying at the wheel like a blind pianist caught in a tune. This means that the persona stays at the wheel and slightly rocks to the music just like a pianist would while playing. Next is hyperbole. A hyperbole is a deliberately exaggerated statement that is not meant to be taken literally. This can be seen in line 3, swaying at the wheel like a blind pianist caught in a tune meant for more than two hands playing. This means that the persona affirms that she is lost and indifferent by comparing herself to a blind pianist caught in a tune meant for more than two hands playing. The scenario she compares herself to is somewhat humorous to think about, because the pianist is basically completely helpless. Next is metaphor. A metaphor is the use of a word or phrase in a special meaning that provides an image. This can be seen in line 9, a film of sweat. This means that this line creates an image of how the persona's sweat was plastered against her face. The persona turned off the air conditioning and became hot, which led to perspiration. The persona indulged herself in the music and was so concentrated on the lyrics that she didn't mind the sweat. Here is my opinion on a certain line in the poem. Pain is an uncomfortable feeling that tells you something may be wrong, while majestic is having or showing impressive beauty or scale. The line, to discover a pain majestic enough to live by, is very interesting because most people don't require pain to live. Rather, they try to avoid it. But it appears that the girl singing, and possibly the poet, want to feel something rather than nothing at all. Here is another opinion, but this one is in relation to irony. The persona turns off the air conditioning and leans back to enjoy listening to the lament, which she greedily took in. Despite her identifying with this song, she finds some irony in the identification because she was without a clue who my lover might be or where to start looking. Fun fact: did you know that poetry can be used to make rapping better? When comparing rap music and poetry, it's important not to think in a negative way. Just because the mainstream media is broadcasting rap about guns, drugs, women, and money, it doesn't mean that that should be your style of writing. There are a lot of underground artists trying to uplift our society, and if you want to be a rapper, just find a theme that challenges and inspires the mainstream society. Moving on to structure and form. Structure is the arrangement of story elements according to purpose, style, and genre. While the plot is the events in the story itself, heavily affected by character, setting, and theme, the structure is how these elements are presented to the reader. Structure is all about pinning down the framework of a text, including its sequence of events, how they are told, and how they are all threaded together, whereas form deals with the genre of a text and how it appears in a certain work of literature. Without rhyme or regular rhythm, the poem, nevertheless, captures a simple dramatic time in the life of a young woman at the beginning of her journey through life. Rhyming scheme. The first thing I noticed was an irregular rhyming scheme. Oftentimes, poetry follows certain patterns, but in this case, there is none. The words that rhyme are swaying and playing, and sentiment and lament. Also, the words alive and live by have very similar sounding. Thus, by having some things rhyme in an irregular manner, she shows that there is some consistency within randomness. This is similar to the girl's life. Very confusing. Here is a bit more information on the poet. Structurally, like most poets, Rita Dove's poems are purposely sliced into different lines in order to create a more effective yet less predictable poem. She does not use a specific rhyme scheme, and therefore her poems are written in free verse. Even though her verses are free, they are still very evocative and concise. Here we have some additional information on the structure of the poem. Firstly, form and shift. The poem is open form and there were no shifts in tone, subject, speaker, situation, and diction. In terms of structure, Golden Oldie is a sonnet written about how Rita got distracted by a song on a radio and feels connected to the singer. And as we all know, a sonnet is a 14-line poem. More information. These are more detailed facts about the structure of the poem. As stated before, the poem has an irregular rhyme scheme, which is why it has the form of A B C B X D E E A A A C D B. The poem has one stanza, and its stanza length is 14, meaning that there are 14 lines in the poem, which makes it a sonnet. The closest meter is a trochaic tetrameter. This refers to a line of 4 trochaic feet. The word tetrameter simply means that the poem has 4 trochees, and a trochee is a long syllable or stressed syllable followed by a short or unstressed one. The closest rhyme is limerick. A limerick is a form of verse, usually humorous and frequently rude, in 5 lines, predominantly anapaestic trimeter with a strict rhyme scheme of AA, BB, A, in which the first, second, and fifth line rhyme, while the third and fourth lines are shorter and share a different rhyme. The average number of symbols per stanza is 510. The average number of words per stanza is 98. The average number of symbols per line is 36 in medium-length strings, and the average number of words per line is 7. In terms of the mood of the speaker, the punctuation marks vary. Neither mark predominates. The author used lexical repetitions to emphasize a significant image, and the word to is repeated. Next up is themes and tone. In contemporary literary studies, a theme is a central topic, subject, or message within a narrative. Themes can be divided into 2 categories. A work's thematic concept is what readers think the work is about, and its thematic statement being what the work says about the subject. Tone is a literary device that reflects the writer's attitude toward the subject matter or audience of a literary work. By conveying this attitude through tone, the writer creates a particular relationship with the reader that, in turn, influences the intention and meaning of the written words. The various themes explored in the poem are struggle versus strength, confusion, courage, resignation, love, and loss. Struggle versus strength can be seen in the lines line 11, 13, and 14. Baby, where did our love go? And without a clue who my lover might be or where to start looking. These lines show how the persona struggled to find new love, but still had the strength to move on from the last one. Confusion can be seen in the lines 13 and 14. Without a clue who my lover might be or where to start looking. This shows that the persona is confused about where to start looking for a new lover. This will be explained further in the presentation. Next is courage. This is seen in lines 6, 7, and 8. To discover a pain majestic enough to live by. This showed that the singer in the poem was courageous in seeking pain in order to continue living, and the persona was able to resonate with this. This theme will also be explored further in the presentation. Resignation is seen in lines 11 and 12. A lament I greedily took in. When something resonates with you, it hits you on an emotional level because you can relate to it. The persona was able to resonate to the song mentioned in the poem. Love was explored throughout the poem, but mostly in the lines 11, 13, and 14. Baby, where did our love go? And without a clue who my lover might be or where to start looking. This shows that the persona was in love before, but that love had vanished. This is discussed in the theme of loss, and it can be seen in the line 11, Baby, where did our love go? The persona now seeks a new love but has no idea where to find it. This will also be discussed further in the presentation. Now, this is where some of the themes mentioned before will be expounded on. Upon hearing the melancholy statement in line 11, Baby, where did our love go? The speaker says she greedily took in without a clue who my lover might be. At first, understanding how she could greedily take something in when there was no actual object to get was confusing. However, it appears that she is hoarding the idea of having a lover who wants to know where their love went. Thus, it leads readers to believe that the persona is in search of love when she concludes with, or where to start looking. Searching for love can be really confusing. Therefore, a theme statement for the overall meaning of the poem can be derived. Oftentimes, human beings can be very confused with their emotions. Sometimes they can find understanding in other confusing things because it is easy to relate to. Now, I hope that cleared up any confusion about the themes confusion, courage, love, and loss. Let's move on to motifs. Various motifs explored in the poem were haunting her, searching, love and relationships, African American background, slavery and freedom, past and present, adolescence, wisdom, and collective female experience. Now, I know that these motifs don't make any sense in terms of the poem itself, but when analyzing the poet's background, it is evident that this definitely influenced the writing of Golden Oldie. Rita Dove's past influenced her writing. For example, searching was explored in the poem Golden Oldie. Rita Dove's poems have a creative dynamic in that they take something as simple as a classic song on the radio, as seen in Golden Oldie, and transforming them into beautiful works of art. Her poems often deal with parts of life, such as being an African American woman and issues that go hand in hand with it, world history and how it relates to and affects her life, experiences in life such as adolescence, romance, and of course, romance coming to a screeching halt and waiting for it again. Let's talk a little about tone. The tone of this poem starts off relaxing and pleasant when the persona arrived home from work early and started off enjoying the tune. The tone then shifts to being a little depressing and sad from the lament, and the tone finally ended when she questioned when will her significant other come. Fun fact. Did you know that in the source poem for Romeo and Juliet, Juliet is 15 years old? Nobody knows why Shakespeare chose to make her 13 years old in his play. Now, you. What are my thoughts on this poem? Essentially, Golden Oldie is a sonnet written about how Rita got distracted by a song on the radio and feels connected to the singer. In this poem, the speaker made it home early only to get stalled in the driveway swaying at the wheel. She is suddenly stopped by the tune that is being played in the car. She exaggerated the well-played tune using a hyperbole. Chords in a tune are meant for more than two hands playing. As the poem goes on, she listens to the song and notices that to her, the words came as easy for the young woman in the song. She describes the singer as a young girl dying to feel alive, to discover a pain majestic enough to live by. This can suggest that the singer is singing a love song. The persona then turns off the air conditioning to listen to the song better. As she continues to listen to this lament, she begins to question where her lover is and where to start looking. In Golden Oldie, Dove tells a narrative about her getting home. In the poem, Rita Dove is able to convey strong emotions in the character she described. The emotions in this poem are clearly evident and show that the speaker is confused about her life. Finally, the last topic of the twist-up approach, other poetic devices. This is an extension of the topic covered before, which is imagery. Symbolism is the use of symbols to represent things. This can be seen in lines 6, 7, and 8. A young girl dying to feel alive, to discover a pain majestic enough to live by. When describing the girl in the song, Dove is actually talking about herself as well. The whole line hence represents Rita Dove. Point of view or POV is who is telling or narrating a story. The use of I throughout the poem suggests that Rita Dove was telling the story from her point of view. Thought I was finished? Well, as we all know, every Rita Dove we have done has been in relation with Greek mythology. This one is no different.
It may seem confusing as Rita Dove has been the main focus in this poem, but this will be explained. Persephone entering Demeter's golden oldie marks a turn, a return to Persephone's experience. Persephone entering Demeter here marks a return to Demeter's experience in the poem The Bistro Sticks. Both the maternal presence in Persephone's poem and the return to female adolescent experience in Demeter's poem mark the changes wrought in each that connect them, daughter and mother, to one another, even as the daughter chooses a lover and in doing so separates her from her mother. In Golden Oldie, Demeter remembers the female adolescent longing and desire in herself that now, in her daughter, draws Persephone to Hades in separation from Demeter. In the moment of that memory, she is conjoined with her daughter in collective female experience. In Persephone in Hell, at the moment Persephone turns from her mother and towards Hades, she also turns to her mother and Demeter enters the experience, whispering to her daughter her female wisdom regarding sexual initiation. Once again, as in Golden Oldie, mother and daughter conjoin in collective female experience. This is where the motifs, adolescence, wisdom, and collective female experience are derived from. A quote by T.S. Eliot to part us today: genuine poetry can communicate before it is understood. Thank you for listening. Any questions?
Well done. Minia,
Yes,
my question, I am so happy that you used that twist in the latter part because I was saying, Minia not getting to how it relates to the Greek mythology. And I wrote it here, I said, how does it relate? How does your analyst relate to the Greek mythology? So that would have been my first question. But then I liked how you used the twist in the latter part of it, right? So I was very much engaged. I like your presentation. Well done. I do believe you have raised the bar, right? Well done, young lady. Any
thank you.
questions? I am going to ask you a question, however, because I want further clarification on one of the devices that you had mentioned here, right?
Yes.
You said that by a young girl dying to feel alive, that the whole idea of dying and alive juxtaposed, would you regard it as oxymoron or a metaphor? Which would you regard it as? By a young girl, that line there, by a young girl dying to feel alive. And what does that dying mean with regards now to the Greek mythology that you have alluded to in the latter part of your slide presentation?
Miss Julia, I'm not really sure. You're asking if a girl dying to feel alive, if I could have.
No, that quote there, that line from the poem, by a young, the words were easy, coon, by a young girl dying, it says, dying to feel alive, to discover a pain majestic enough to live by. Now, you had mentioned in your presentation that it was used metaphorically and the whole idea, the imagery of dying here by a young girl dying to feel alive. What does that dying to feel alive? Is it more in tune with a metaphor or is it oxymoron? How would you express that?
I
Any?
think I placed an emphasis in it when I was talking about my opinion on pain and
Mm-hmm.
majestic, when I suggested that people don't really require pain to live, but we rather try to avoid it. And then it appeared that the girl singing and the poet wanted to feel something rather than nothing at all. So I think that could have been used as a metaphor, but I wanted more clarification on it through researching, but I could not find it. I think that's why I did not include it. But I did use it as an opinion.
Okay. All right. With regards to the other part now, where you said the poem is in relation to the Greek mythology, right? You said that by a young girl dying to feel alive, wouldn't that represent, as you mentioned in the latter part of your presentation, no, the transition from Persephone's innocence, the taking of her virginity? Would it be that? By 80s, right? So by a young girl, and it could be that she, of course, is on the verge of adulthood. So the transition from adolescence into adulthood, right? So that would have maybe spawned some changes in her. So the connection or bond that she had with her mother, that bond was somewhat broken because the girl now desires other things, other bonds, other relationship. Do you understand?
Yes, miss.
Could it be viewed as that?
Yes, miss. That's what I was trying to say when I was analyzing it through Greek mythology, because it
Mhm.
was a bit confusing during the research because it was all about Rita as the narrator or as the persona. But once you put it in Greek mythology, it's simply saying that Persephone had left her mother's side and decided to, and she's entering adolescence, and now she is so attracted to Hades. And then the connection with her and her mother is that her mother went through the same thing of having to love and lose it.
Right, so let's talk about love and loss, right? But and also, girls, don't be too afraid to say what is actually on your mind. As long you can use different terminologies and words, so doesn't sound too raunchy. But the girl was having sexual desires, right?
Yes, miss.
And some these desires cannot be fulfilled by her mother, and as a result of that, she seeks that love interest that would gonna fulfill now that desire. Where did our love go? That bond, you know, because even yesterday I was telling my students, don't be afraid, because I know that some persons don't want to talk about these things. You have to talk about them, right? You have to talk about them because the novel speaks to it. The poem speaks to it, okay? Addresses it. So don't be too afraid to speak about these issues, okay? Right? So yes, there were some sexual connotations, right? Innuendos and all, right? That was used, and you could have commented on them. But I must say, there's certain aspect of your presentation that I really enjoy. I really don't want to give it all away right now because other persons are going to be presenting. Might not be today. It has to be maybe next week. I don't want them to feel like the bar has been raised so much that we have to do these things as well. But you just do you, be you in your presentation. It will not take away from your presentation, right?